Mr. Pulte,
Yes, sir.
the Biden administration allowed borrowers to take out bigger mortgages than they can afford, didn't it?
Senator, I do think that we need to make sure.
Did it allow them to take out bigger mortgages than they can afford or not?
I think sometimes people definitely do take out mortgages that they can't afford.
Okay. In fact, 64% of the FHA borrowers last year exceeded the 43% debt-to-income ratio, didn't it?
I would believe that to be true. I'm not familiar with that
In
statistic.
fact, the FHA loan portfolio today is bigger than it was before the 2008 housing crisis, isn't it?
I would believe that to be true, but FHFA would be under HUD, so I would.
And when people borrow more money than they can afford, many times they default. Is that true?
That is true.
And I'm not just picking on FHA. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have done this too, haven't they?
Yes, sir.
Now, normally when people borrow too much money, they default. But under the Biden administration, they implemented a program where if you're about to default, the taxpayers will pay your mortgage. Isn't that correct?
Do you have a specific policy that you're referencing, Senator?
Yeah. The FHA instituted a program that pays mortgage servicers to make borrowers missed payments for them.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I'm not familiar with that specific FHA
Well, you
program.
need to be.
I would be happy to look into it and get back with you.
They take taxpayer money and they give it to people, and it's added to the principal of their home without accruing interest, so that a lot of these folks now have homes on which they owe more money than the home is worth.
Yes.
You're not familiar with that?
Well, I'm familiar with that general concept, yes, sir. And if I was,
Isn't it a fact that the FHA made 556,841 incentive payments last year?
Sir, I'm not familiar with that exact statistic. FHFA would be under my friend and colleague Scott Turner.
Right, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac did the same thing, didn't they?
They probably did.
So we got a house of cards here. It's worse than it was before the 2008 housing crisis. You've got the federal government adopting a policy, don't worry about how much you make. We'll loan you all you need to buy a home. And then when folks get in trouble, the federal government says, don't worry about it. We'll make your payments for you. So you won't default, or you won't have to sell your home. That's one of the reasons housing prices are so high, isn't it?
In many ways, yes, sir. And I think that safety and soundness is absolutely critical.
Are you going to fix that?
I'm going to work day and night, sir. Yes, sir, to work very strongly.
I'm going to adopt the Tillis rule. Is that a yes or a no?
I will absolutely work on that issue, I promise.
I mean, this is absurd. Now, I want everybody who can afford it to own a home.
Yes, sir.
But if you start giving away money and giving away homes, we're going to have another housing crisis.
We can't let that happen.
And the numbers are worse today as a result of the Biden administration than they were in 2008. Are they not?
I'm not sure which numbers you're specifically referring to, but inflation is way out.
I'm referring to the accurate numbers.
I believe that the last 4 years have been extremely challenging.
Well, I appreciate all that, but don't start talking like a bureaucrat. You're not confirmed yet. We got a problem here. You got to address it.
Yes, sir, and I will be laser focused on this issue. And
Dr. I can't see that for Dr. Moran. One of the best ways to get down prices is to deregulate, isn't it?
Thank you, Senator. I do agree that regulations prevent production, and if we can remove regulations, we can get more production.
Well, I'm hoping that you and Russ Vogt will focus, among other things, on deregulation. Now, I know everybody's talking about DOGE and immigration and the war in Ukraine and the Super Bowl. But meanwhile, people are still suffering from high prices. Very predictable, because when you have inflation and you get it down, that's disinflation. But the housing prices, or the high prices, still remain. It's not President Trump's fault. That's just the way it works. Now, we can make those prices go down, but we have to go into a recession, wouldn't we? That's one way, isn't it?
Senator,
I got 30 seconds. That's one way, isn't it?
Yes, it's not.
Well, but you let Warner go on like a he was wild as a March hare.
I'm still letting you go on for a little bit, but
okay.
Now you're 47.
My point is one of the ways to get prices down is to start deregulating.
That's a much better way.
And I'm hoping the White House is going to get you and Russ Vought to focus on it.
I agree. Removing barriers to the abilities of firms to produce will get them to produce more stuff, lower prices.
My work here is done.
And
Thank
with
you.
that, Senator